There's pretty much no new films out this week that I want to go watch. The only things that come out in the UK this week are late releases that have already been out in the US for a few weeks, and the films that come out in the US this week do not come out in the UK this week, so there's no cinema trip for me this week. So I thought I'd take this time to do some catch-up reviews, some reviews of films that I missed the first time, films that I was late to the party to, and just give you guys some updated thoughts about some of the films that I've seen this year and obviously where I stand on them. I have 9 films that I'm going to talk about, and they're not going to be in-depth reviews, otherwise this video will be like 25 minutes long and I don't want to do that. They're going to be really quick reviews just to give you guys my quick thoughts on these films that I didn't review the first time round. So let's just jump right into this. The first film up is Zootopia, and a bit of a spoiler alert, this is pretty much the best film I've seen out of the films that I'm reviewing in this video, because I really enjoyed Zootopia. It was fast paced, it was really funny, the characters were entertaining, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde were well fleshed out characters with really entertaining banter, they had funny scenes together, and they were voiced perfectly by Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman. I also love the world and the premise of Zootopia, like all the different districts that mirror different animal habitats, such as the rainforest district. Plus I found the film surprisingly intriguing also. I was actually interested in the investigation that Judy and Nick were taking on, and seeing them follow the breadcrumbs was kind of interesting to me, and it was a great way to go around Zootopia and explore the different aspects of the city. And lastly, it had some really effective heartfelt moments in some scenes involving Judy, where she's breaking down crying, she's failing at whatever she's doing, and it leads into a great message of don't let who you are and where you come from dictate your future and your path in life. And I thought it was a really good message for this film. Overall, a really fun and entertaining animated movie that's currently in my top 10 of the year so far. I'm going to give Zootopia a 4 out of 5. Next up is Hail Caesar. Now this is a phenomenally made film. The production design, the costumes, the sets, the music, the cinematography, it's all really fantastic. But a well-made film doesn't automatically equal a 5-out film in my personal opinion. The way I see Hail Caesar is that there are a bunch of characters and storylines that, and not all of them contribute to an overall narrative, such as Scarlett Johansson and her problems that Josh Brolin is trying to solve. It adds nothing to the main story of George Clooney being kidnapped and Brolin trying to find out where he is, and Alden Ehrenreich, aka the new Han Solo, trying to act in a new period piece movie directed by Ray Fiennes. It didn't contribute until the last act. It felt a bit jumbled and unfocused to me, but the unfortunate thing is, George Clooney's storyline was not really that interesting to me anyway. It was nowhere near as riveting as I was hoping it to be, and nowhere near as interesting as the trailer made it out to be. But like I said, it's an extremely well made and brilliantly acted film by Josh Brolin especially, but the scattershot storylines and characters bring the film down to being decent in my eyes. I originally gave this film a 2 out of 5, but I'm going to be generous and bump it up to a 3 out of 5 for Hail Caesar. Next up is Dirty Grandpa. Now this is going to be a very quick one. Simply put, it was not very funny at all. It relied almost entirely on Robert De Niro swearing and doing dirty stuff, which granted is what the film is meant to be, but it got old really fast and I was looking for more than just him doing outrageous stuff, and I just didn't find it. The thing with Zac Efron and his wife was extremely predictable, none of the side characters were funny, the big scenes that tried to be super funny weren't really that memorable. I can only remember the flex off on the beach, mainly because it was the most advertised part of the film. Overall, very unfunny movie. There were some good lines here and there and some funny moments, really scattershot. There were really few and far between to actually call this film a funny movie, and it is definitely one of the worst films I've seen so far this year. Not the worst, get into that a little bit later, but it's definitely up there with the worst I've seen so far this year. I'm going to give Dirty Grandpa a 2 out of 5. Next up, Eddie the Eagle. Now Eddie the Eagle has a formula you've seen many times before, but it's elevated thanks to the likability of Eddie, played wonderfully by Taron Egerton. His passion, determination and enthusiasm was really engaging. It drove this movie onwards and onwards, as did the friendship between him and Hugh Jackman, who was also great in the movie. And by the end, you just want to fist pump the air in triumph. It's some really feel good stuff. Like I said, familiar formula and predictable as hell, but endlessly likeable, and it's very well acted. I'm going to give Eddie the Eagle a 4 out of 5. The next film is Hardcore Henry. Now Hardcore Henry is an undeniably unique experience thanks to the first person perspective, which provides tons of fun in the action sequences. The film as a whole is a blast to watch. It's super violent and entertaining. That's what I wanted, and that's mostly what I got. But the film does suffer from paper-thin characters and an unremarkable story, and an unremarkable villain at that as well. I would have liked it to have been better in those departments so I could care more about what was going on, but Hardcore Henry was a really fun watch if you like action and don't mind a lot of blood, and I mean a lot of blood. Give it a watch, you'll have a good time. I'm going to give Hardcore Henry a 3 out of 5. Next up is quite a highly praised film of 2016 so far, and that is Green Room. Now Green Room does a great job at building tension. This leads to some great confrontations and some bloody moments where the tension more or less pays off. It's also a well-made film and a well-acted film, but I just didn't find it to be anything special. The characters were kind of one-dimensional and I didn't really care about them that much. There's no real meat to this movie, nothing about it blew my mind, and it didn't really have much worthy of getting invested in, but I still think it is a good film, so I'm going to give Green Room a 3 out of 5. Next up is The Witch. Now I was expecting completely overrated with this film because it's been praised and praised and praised by critics and some of you guys that I watch on YouTube, but some people in real life that I know tell me that it was boring and unscary, so I was like, okay, I'm probably not going to like this film. But surprisingly enough, I actually quite liked The Witch. The film was very well acted by all the actors who gave really convincing performances. The film looked like the 1600s thanks to the brilliant production quality. But most surprisingly, the film had me interested in the emotional conflict with the family. It leads to some really shocking scenes, some of which were quite the eye-openers, I'll tell you. Especially that scene involving the boy where he's getting possessed and that kind of stuff. That kind of blew me away, that scene, I'm not going to lie. But I do wish it was more scary. And I appreciate it for not doing the typical jump scare BS that most horror films do these days. And like I said, I was surprised by The Witch. I was expecting overrated, but actually got pretty damn good. I'm going to give The Witch a 4 out of 5. Speaking of jump scares, next up is The Darkness. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Every single horror cliche imaginable is in this film, and it's super duper extremely predictable and unbelievably boring. Top it off with stupid characters, pointless subplots and countless jump scares, and you have what I consider to be one of the very worst films of 2016 so far. I give The Darkness a rating that I have not actually given in any of my reviews this year, 1 out of 5. But now I'm saving the best till last, The Boss. That was sarcasm, by the way. The Boss was also a truly awful film. It was extremely unfunny, which is the biggest sin for any comedy film, and the biggest flaw with this one is that it's just not funny. Then you have the cliche story arc of Melissa McCarthy starting to care and grow attached to the family, and you know where it's all gonna go, blah 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 blah. And if that wasn't bad enough, it ends with her and Peter Dinklage having a sword fight. What? Just like The Darkness, I'm also going to give The Boss 1 out of 5. So there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on those particular films that I didn't review the first time round. We had some really good ones, we had some good ones, some decent ones, and some awful ones. But I want to know, what did you guys think of all the films that I talked about in this video? Tell me your opinions on them down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching as always, and if you want to see more of my stuff, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.